Chapter 1, Mishnah 4. The main part of an animal offering is its avodat hadam, blood service. This begins with slaughtering the animal, shchita, collecting its blood in a sanctified bowl, kabbalah, bringing the blood to the mizbeach, holacha, and finally throwing the blood on the walls or applying it to the horns of the mizbeach, zerika. These procedures are the ones that determine the validity of the korban. If they are done properly, the korban is valid, and if they are not done properly, it is not valid. Mishnah 1 taught the law for a case where someone slaughtered a Pesach or Chatas for the sake of a different korban, shelo lishma. Our Mishnah now teaches the law for cases where the other blood avodos were also done for the sake of a different korban, or some of them were done for the sake of the proper korban, and some were done for the sake of a different korban. If a person slaughtered a Pesach or Chatas not for its own sake but for the sake of a different korban, or he received the blood in a bowl or brought the blood to the Mizbeach, or threw it on the Mizbeach not for its own sake but for the sake of a different korban, or if he did one of these avodos both for its own sake, for the sake of the Pesach or Chatas, and not for its own sake but for the sake of a different korban, or if he did the reverse, he began one of the avodos not for its own sake but for the sake of a different korban, and then continued it for its own sake, for the sake of the Pesach or Chatas. In all of these cases, the Pesach and the Chatas are completely invalid because one of the 4 key avodos was done either fully or partially for the sake of a different korban. The Mishnah gives examples of the last 2 cases. What is the example of doing an avoda partially for the korban's own sake and partially not for its own sake? He began the avoda for the sake of the Pesach and then finished it for the sake of the shlamim. What is an example of doing an avodah partially not for the korban's own sake and partially for its own sake? He began the avodah for the sake of a shlamim and then finished it for the sake of a Pesach. The Mishnah teaches the underlying reason for this first Tana's view. For a korban can be invalidated through any one of the following 4 things: through slaughtering the korban with an improper intention, through receiving its blood with an improper intention, through bringing its blood to the mizbeach with an improper intention, and through throwing the blood on the mizbeach with an improper intention. The next Tana disagrees about one of these 4 avodos. Rabbi Shimon rules in the case of bringing its blood to the mizbeach with an improper intention that the korban is valid. For Rabbi Shimon used to say, it is not possible to offer a korban without slaughtering it, receiving its blood, and throwing the blood on the mizbeach. But it is possible to offer a korban without bringing its blood to the mizbeach, because he could slaughter it at the side of the mizbeach and throw the blood directly from where he is standing. Since the avodah of halacha, bringing the blood to the mizbeach, does not necessarily have to be done, it is not considered enough of an avodah to disqualify a korban through an improper intention. The Mishnah records yet a third opinion in this matter. Rabbi Elazar says if the Kohen bringing the blood is walking in a place where he must walk in order to get to the mizbeach, the improper intention he has at that time invalidates the korban. But if he takes a detour and walks in a place where he does not need to walk to get to the mizbeach, the improper intention at that time does not invalidate the korban.